Unit 1 introduces multiplications, and it's divided in 3 sections. Section A, Lesson 1 to 8, Interpret and represent data on scaled graphs. Section B, Lesson 9 to 15, From graphs to multiplication, and Section C, Lesson 16 to 21, represents multiplication with arrays and the commutative property. Lesson 1. Make sense of data. Today you learn to read and ask questions about data. You would be able to interpret picture graphs and bar graphs to generate questions, orally and in writing, about the data. These are core vocabulary we will learn in today's lesson. Picture graph, key, and bar graph. What do you notice? You may notice, it looks like a picture graph. There is no title, or the categories are hidden and there are stick people in each column. What do you wonder? You may wonder, what is this graph about? What do the stick people represent? Why are these so many stick people in the last 2 columns? Where is the title? Well, not that you thought about it. What situation could the graph represent? As you can see the graph, each stick people represents 1 students. Without a title or keys, it can be used in any situation. It can represents favorite day of the week, favorite type of food, or types of animals that people saw in the park. That is why, when creating a graph, title and label of the representation of graph is very important if you want to convey your data across. Look at graph. What do you notice different from the first graph that we discussed? It has a title. Now, we know what the graph is about. The title of the graph helps us make sense of the data shown in the graph. It is about how we get home. Remember, the data is information about the things or people in a group. A picture graph shows how many in each group or category using pictures of the objects or symbols. Picture graph have keys that tell what each picture represents. How do you think students in our community get home from school? Car, bus, or even walk home? Do you think some would ride a bike home too? Who knows, in some part of our community, some might ride a bike home from school. Look at this graph. How many categories will there be for this graph? Based on this graph, there should be 6 categories. How can we tell? Well, there is 6 column going down. As you can see, I boxed each column to let you see it clearly. The second image is a bar graph. A bar graph shows how many in each group or category using the length of rectangles. How are the graphs alike? How are they different? We can learn from the graph that 7 students take a bus home and there are more students get home by bus or train than any other way. Think of 2 questions you could ask about how students get home based on the graphs. Let's review our core vocabulary we have learned this lesson. Picture graph is a way to show how many in each group or category using pictures of the objects or symbols. In this graph, each stick figure to represent 1 student. Key is the part of a picture graph that tells what each picture represents. As you can see, at the bottom of the graph, it shows the key. Bar graph, a way to show how many in each group or category using the length of rectangles.